Hello and welcome back.
Thanks for joining us for another episode.
I'm James Giffins,
And I am Malcolm Childs, and we are just making conversation.
where we're discussing the model making hobby that brings us joy and pain in equal measures.
From the greasy sprues to the gloss coats and everything in between, we are going to be just making conversation. There are other podcasts that you can listen to.
Plastic Model Mojo,
The Scale Model Podcast,
Plastic Posse Podcast,
On the Bench,
Model Geeks,
The Sprue Cutters Union,
Small Subjects.
Built Sideways. Just head to modelpodcasts.com for all of the links.
If you've enjoyed our podcast, consider leaving a review of 5 stars, as it promotes the podcast to more people to enjoy.
Showing your support is as easy as making a coffee. In fact, why not go over to buymeacoffee.com/JMC podcast and do just that? Your support will help go towards making the podcast and its content that little bit better, which it needs. In this episode, we will be just making conversation about 3D printing. Is this the future or the death of the plastic moulding company?
We all have a control over what we make. No waiting for the designers of those models companies to pop that long-awaited subject. Does a 3D printer bring you freedom, or is it just another fad?
3D printing in its current form has been around for over 10 years, but only in the last few has it become practical to do at home financially. One day, 3D printers could be as popular as the microwave or the Sinclair C5.
Would you believe we've had people write in and say things to us?
People or a person?
Well, persons.
I can believe it. Yeah, we get a lot of comments here and there, don't we?
If we read every single one out, we'd be here for at least 2 minutes.
We just don't have the time to read everybody's out.
So obviously we had a bit of a meltdown. So we apologise to everyone for the fact that we were a little bit slack in our podcasting schedule. That'll do.
I wouldn't call it a meltdown, just a...
Oh, it was hot.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right.
Well, don't get me wrong, we don't live in Scotland or anything, so, over 5 degrees is just like the world's coming to an end. Nearly 2 weeks away since the very hot weather we had, and it's still 29 degrees in here. It's going to take a little while to cool down. But anyway, we put a post up on Instagram, and one of many hats said, "No apologies needed at all. I really hope that both you and Malcolm and the family are all doing well," which is really nice of you. So thank you for that.
Yeah, very kind. Thank you very much. We're fine. Absolutely fine. Just, this is a hobby for us, and sometimes just don't have time. Things get in the way.
Yeah.
So
Life
and love and everything else. We aim to try and do it every couple of weeks, don't we?
We do, yeah.
We always said that we would never make it a chore. Not that it ever is a chore talking to you, James. It's a pleasure.
Oh, don't you make me blush.
Adam Greenwood.
Oh, yeah.
Sent us a comment. He says, "Hi, James and Malcolm." Oh, he mentioned you first. Interesting. Hope you are both well. A couple of thoughts running through my little brain. I've been looking at various model selling sites, Veteranus and Facebook selling groups. I purchase very little as my stash is already Sable. Sable. And I've noticed the phrase stash thinning or similar a lot lately. Also, sadly, 1 or 2 people hit by economic hardship. Do you think we are at a peak of modelling, or is it just my imagination? Secondly, will the extreme heat affect kits in storage? Attics, for example. Is there any data on the temperatures that styrene is okay at? That's it for now. Cheers, Adam. Cheers, Adam, he says. I'm not an expert on kit storage, but I can tell you that the storage container that Models for Heroes keep a lot of model kits in, all the kits are fine, perfectly fine, and that gets very hot. That gets 40 degrees or so. Everything's laying flat. A lot of the kits are kind of warped already, so they probably warp them back straight. Nothing is really stacked on top of each other too much, and everything's fine as long as you've stored it well. You haven't kind of squished it all up. I don't think the plastic get that bad.
I think it's to be honest. This is a question that came in. I noticed it too late to ask a person that might know, but I am going to email someone that might know the answer to this question and see if I can get an answer and put it up in the Facebook. So watch out for that.
I know when you stretch sprue, you light it, don't you, underneath, and then it
Yeah,
takes a while for it to shift. So
yeah.
the melting point is quite high,
Hmm.
and I don't know if the melting point is like a snap or if it's a linear curve. You know, the hotter it gets, the more malleable it gets. I don't know. My kits are certainly fine in my garage. The ones in the container are certainly fine as well.
I think at the end of the day, what you have to remember is, here in the UK, we don't get hot that often, and there are other countries that are much hotter than us. There isn't a warning that goes out every time it goes over a certain temperature. So I think it'd probably be more than fine in attics. Obviously, like Malcolm says, as long as you're not squashed together and they are stacked in a way which is sensible, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. And in relation to the other part of your statement, people hit by economic hardships, and did we think that we're at a peak in modelling? This probably isn't a newsflash in any way, shape, or form, really, but I can tell you in the UK, us modelers are going to see an extreme dip of availability. So bear that in mind when you're thinning your stash, because I can tell you that some of the Asian market are struggling with the cost of shipping and the pound and how the dollar is and all that sort of stuff. And there are going to be suppliers who are going to drop companies. And I know that for a fact because I'm aware of one particular wholesaler who has dropped all but 3 from that region in the last month, purely because it cost £26,000 for a container, whereas it used to cost 5,000. And obviously the exchange rate, as a container is in dollars, the pound is not doing well on the markets at the moment, and then obviously the other currencies are also finding it hard, if you like, to get decent rates. So yeah, in the UK, be warned, there is going to be some shortages of things. We most certainly are going to see a little bit of a drop off, especially at the moment while the economics are like they are around the world. It's going to be an interesting time, I think, in the next couple of months and years.
He says, "Do you think we are at peak modelling? We're not going to any more people interested?" I certainly don't think so. I think my vision is clouded because the more I model, the more I'm into it, and the more people I meet that are modeling. But I don't know if that's because I'm just more into the hobby and the scene and the social side.
Interest in the model making? No, definitely, it's still climbing rapidly. In fact,
No, even more so with lockdown and everything. Returning
yeah.
to their roots and people interested in looking after their mental state and well-being. People trying to get into hobbies and all sorts of stuff.
And I think also the other thing to bear in mind as well with it, Malcolm, is that we've had this period where we couldn't go and do anything, so we found hobbies and things that we can do that are relatively cheap, instead of going on holiday and all that sort of thing. People are going to be cutting back, and holidays could potentially be one of them. So they might say, do you know what? I'm not going to have those 2 holidays this year. I'm going to have one, and I'm going to use some of the money that I've saved from the second holiday to pay some bills, and a little bit of it I'm going to pay on modelling or a hobby.
Well, I'm going to build that sailing ship that I've always wanted to build.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I can sail around the world on it.
That could be a thing, couldn't it? People have staycations and home holidays, don't they? You could have a holiday just building a model kit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that'd be good.
So yeah, great question. Yeah, thanks for writing in. I really appreciate it, Adam.
Those are our thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So what's next? We did that. So we need to talk about the thing.
Well, yeah, we're going to be talking about the thing today. That's going to be the subject matter.
So what do you want to do? Do you want to do walnuts? Do you want to do Moosaroo? Do you want to do the subject? Do you want to do a shout out for stash or cash?
Okay, so let's just breeze through this really quickly. Let's start with the Walnut Challenge, and then let's go on to the Moosaroo Cup. Walnut Challenge Group Build! Woo-hoo-hoo! Oh my god, the Walnut Challenge is finished! Can you believe it?
Well, I do believe it, yes, because that's the nature of time. It's interesting. I spoke to a couple of people in the last week that said, "Oh, I got my walnuts here. Here they are." And I said, "Oh, crikey, you only got a few days left." Said, "What? When's it end?" So I told them the ending date. Then I also had to tell them, don't worry about the rules. Nobody seems to
No,
care about the rules
absolutely.
anymore. So you do whatever you like. And in all honesty, I don't think it matters. If you put something in late, the page is not going to be taken down, is it?
No. And in fact, to be honest, I would encourage you, if you're listening to this and you think, oh no, I've got my nuts and I haven't done anything with them. It's never too late. Never too late to play with your nuts.
Right.
So just get them out and do what you're going to do with them and pop them up in the Facebook group. And the reason I'm saying that, one of the reasons I'm saying that, is in fact because I know it'll annoy Malcolm greatly if people break the rules, because he's not a rule breaker.
That's like that.
And plus, also, if I'm totally honest, and Malcolm, I don't think Malcolm knows this, or maybe he does. Maybe I did tell him, I can't remember. But unfortunately, I may have challenged a few other people that I've given them the ability to be outside the rules and complete late.
Rules don't mean nothing anymore. One person breaks them and everyone's just like, oh, that's the case, is it? Oh, okay, fine.
Free for all.
But in all seriousness, though, the deadline will be November properly, because that will be Telford. And that's when we're going to encourage people to put their nuts that they've built out on their show tables in their clubs. Or if you don't have a club, then bring it along and we'll find somewhere to put them all. And we'll make a little map of all the walnuts you can go find.
So now this is the good thing about this challenge, you see, because if they don't have a club to put their nuts on a table, right? Because part of the rules, which we all follow, obviously, is that you have to have both parts can shut. It means people can come to Telford with their nuts in their pocket and whip them out and say, look what I did with my nuts.
Yeah, there you go. I encourage you to come to Telford and show everybody your nuts, said Malcolm.
Oh, it's there for history now. As long as he doesn't edit it out.
Oh, God. Yeah, there'll be a first for everything. All you'll have to do is in November tell me whereabouts you are, obviously, so I can come and find your nuts and then we can put them on my map. And so, I'm assuming then by your positive stance on extending that you haven't done anything with your walnuts.
I'll have you know, I resemble that remark.
Thought so. Never mind. Well, you've got till November.
Oh, it's been extended.
Yeah, let's officially extend it, shall we? Extend it till November.
Funny enough, I was fondling with them only today when I was cleaning up the bench, because I've got a lot on at the moment, and I promised that I would do a live, which I haven't done yet.
I don't think you know the word promise means. Or is it a James promise?
It's I'm sure there's a word for that, and I'm sure our listeners will let us know what that means. But I am going to do it, and I'm not going to say any more than that, because otherwise it gets rolled into a promise. And so, more importantly, we've got to get out of this section real quick, because I am ready and absolutely gagging to understand a little bit more about the Moosaroo Cup is back! Hurrah!
Moosaroo Cup, the Moosaroo Cup. Let's talk about the Moosaroo Cup. Boom! Woohoo!
Yeah, it is. And in quite spectacular form, too. I have in front of me right now, I'll paint a picture for our listeners. I have right in front of me a white box. And this white box has lots of airmail stickers on it, and it has stamps on it, and it has Par Avion on it, and it's come directly from the foreign country of Canada. Directly from the IPMS Hamilton dudes. It is containing a plastic model kit, according to the customs label on the front here. Crikey, it was sent on the 20th, and today it is the 27th. So it took 7 days to get here. That's great. Thank you so much, guys, for organising this and doing all the logistics surrounding this. It's not easy, I'm sure, and I do appreciate it personally, and I'm sure James does as well. I've said so before.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'm really sorry that we couldn't be there for the official unveiling at the Nats.
No.
We're doing our unofficial unveiling right now.
Well, we watched lots of the lives and things, didn't we?
We did.
The posts and stuff.
We
like
did,
that.
yeah.
Yep.
Not that I'm jealous in any way, shape, or form, boys.
Oh, extremely jealous. Extremely. Right, shall I open it?
Yes, please. Can't wait any longer.
Da-da-da. So, I am opening the box. I am using a red scalpel to cut the plastic.
And it's the sharp end he's using, just to watch out for health and safety. We do have a person behind him in a yellow fluorescent jacket, just to make sure that everything is safe for him.
Safety is paramount.
Absolutely.
Right. Oh, it's one of those flappy tops.
Oh.
Oh. Inside this box, there is a envelope. On it says Moosaroo 4 Top Secret. Got a couple of Heritage Con stickers.
Hey!
Yeah. We love stickers, don't we?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. And then the main event, obviously, inside here is a Armour Hobby kit. Yes, it is the P51 BC Mustang from Armour Hobby in 1/72nd scale.
Cool.
The box is rather small.
It is.
Look at that.
Yeah.
It's a diddy box.
Mm.
If I remember rightly, this kit packs quite a punch.
It does.
Yeah, it's the so there's a 51 BC Mustang. Well, the Mustang is an officially licensed product too. And on the back, there is 6 different decal options.
Ooh.
Yeah, so we can have the P51B Mustang Ding Hayo from 1944. We can have the P51C Mustang Avelina from 1945. Oh, this one's a nice one. This is the Mustang Mark III from 1945 from the Polish Air Force.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought that was an RAF one there, but it's not. It's Polish.
No, it's Polish, yeah.
Yeah, cool. F6C Mustang, and it's also in 1944. That is in a very nice checkered pattern with the tail and the nose and a checkety.
Oh, check it out.
It's a shiny metal thing as well, so that'll be interesting. An Italian one from 1945 also looks like RAF colours, but I guess that's European World War II, isn't it? And then the Snooky, My Pal Snooky from 1944. Wow. That's a nice one too.
Nice.
Yellow nose.
Yeah.
Huh.
I like that. I thought they'd pretty much be all bare metal, but they're not, are they?
No, they're not. No. So the Ding Hao ones features on the front is kind of an olive green all over. I like that. Lots of potential. Yeah, cool. Wow. Blimey. 1/72nd scale. I haven't built a 1/72nd scale kit for many, many years. I started my hobbying doing 1/72nd. Fast jets, F-15s, tornadoes, typhoons. Ooh, okay. Before I touch the kit, I'm going to read the letter.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
There we go. Says, Light Speed Global and IPMS Hamilton Modelers Club. Hello, podcasters. IPMS Hamilton and Lightspeed Global are proud to once again sponsor the Moosaroo Cup, a friendly competition between the titans of the scale modelling podcast community. You are being provided with Armour Hobbies P51 BC Mustang kit in 1/72nd scale to build, detail, and finish to the best of your abilities. No, Dave of Plastic Model Mojo did not pay us off. Knowing the competitive nature that you each possess, we here at IPMS Hamilton anticipate stellar builds.
Oh.
Here are some guidelines to help you along your way. You have between now and midnight on March the 11th, 2023 to complete your build. The provided kit is to be built out of the box, including markings. That means no aftermarket photo etch, resin cockpits, all wheels, decals, etc. Entries will be judged by a group of IPMS Hamilton volunteers applying the IPMS judging principles. Submit a minimum of 6, that's 6, up to a maximum of 10 high-quality, unedited digital images. At least 3 full subject images should be without base or background, i.e. single color backdrop. Additional details on image formatting, naming convention to be provided at a later date. For full disclosure, images may be viewed by judging on a 50-inch or larger TV monitor, and it is IPMS Hamilton's intent to project all the entries on the big screen during HeritageCon 2023. The winning entry will be announced on March the 26th, 2023 as part of HeritageCon 2023. Entries are to be submitted to this email address. IPMS Hamilton look forward to tracking the progress of your builds over the coming months. We hope you have some fun along the way too. we would also like to extend an invitation to each podcast and your listeners around the world to join us at HeritageCon on March the 26th, 2023 at the Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum in Mount Hope, Ontario. Happy modelling the IPMS Hamilton crew.
Googling tickets as we speak.
I bet you are. Yes. Wow. Feels amazing to be part of this thing. I don't know how you felt when you did Moosaroo 3, but yeah, I feel quite honoured to be part of this.
Humbled and honoured. Yeah, definitely.
And in no way scared at all.
No, I have noticed that you're down to the bone on your fingers, or is it knuckles? I'm not sure.
Swimming in a pile of shit as well, but right, I'm gonna open up the kit. Here I go.
You're gonna do some funky pictures of the kit anyway, so
I'll do some photos. Yeah. Okay. It's got little photo etch seat belts and the like.
Oh, look at that.
Instruction manual. Ooh, wow. Oh, crikey. Instructions look beefy. Decal sheet is stock full of different pictures, images. Have you built an armor hobby kit before?
I haven't. No, I've read a few articles on it, but no, I've not built one.
The instruction manual is wow. It looks really, really, really detailed.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, lots of different colors, different numbers. But yeah, like all the way they cut the canopy and things like the rails and stuff.
Yeah, lovely
sets of colors and stuff. Well, that's going to be good. And then of course they have the color call outs and the decal positions at the back. I have to decide which one I'm going to do. Wow, and do some research. Oh, I'm quite excited about that. Right, and then the kit itself. Ooh, okay. Oh, lovely. Yeah, that's quite nice. The molding is spot on. The total difference between gloss and matte. There's lots and lots of detail. Well, not even like too much detail, like panel line gaps. You won't be able to see it on the camera at all. The panel lining in the center part of that wing is incredibly subtle. And the rest of the paneling is lovely. Oh, it's beautiful. I could look at this all day. They clearly knew what they're doing, these guys. It looks like the kit is going to go together really, really well as well. Do you know what I mean? There's lots of clipping points, and where the fuselage meets, there are slots and tabs. I can see the undercarriage flaps, for instance, have tabs on them to be put into the bottom. Oh, it's going to be cool.
A double thumbs up.
Double thumbs up. I can't wait. I can't wait. I tell you though, it's going to be a challenge to decide on what decal option I'm going to do. I will have to do some research and find out what I can do. What is the best one I can find the research on, and also maybe go and find a pit Mustang in the UK to have a look at. Do we know of any?
Certainly one. There's a Duxford. I'm pretty certain there's one up there.
Oh, there's a mask set as well.
A mask set. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, mask set. Oh, that's helpful. Like an Eddard's weekend set, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I'll have to have a Google and try and find some stuff. Maybe we can do a road trip. And if we do a road trip, then what we'll do is I will take my camera with me and some radio mics.
All right.
Watch you dribbling all over a P-51 and then being thrown out of the museum. It's quite easy to do that.
Let's go on the road and see what trouble we can get into.
And if anyone is listening that owns a P-51 in the UK and wants us to come and have a play, then drop us a line. You never know. Stranger things have happened.
They have, yes. P-51 BC, this is. I can't wait.
No.
I can't wait. I hope that I can do...
When we got the news of what it was, there were pangs of pain of the fact that I couldn't be involved. But I'm going to really enjoy you watch you do that.
You get to bark at me from the sidelines and whip me into submission. And remind me every time we speak that I've only got till March.
Do you know the only thing that out of all of that, in which is could be interesting to see, is whether it's a case of, so Malcolm, is there a Moosaroo update? No? Oh.
Yeah. Any Moosaroo updates? No, shut up. Oh, okay.
All I would say to our colleagues that are taking part, be gentle, please, because Malcolm is very nervous. Although I've already told him he's got nothing to worry about.
Well, so I watched the video of when these kits were given out, when they were all sat down in the nats and they're given out, and they gave a kit to Ivan, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be in a competition with Ivan. Oh, crikey, Moses. That's going to be interesting. And then they give a kit to Will Patterson. And I'm like, oh, my God. Never in my life have I thought I'd ever be in the same competition as Will or Ivan, and then they're both in the same one. There's only eight different pit groups. I would say only 8, but it's not like thousands of people where I can just hide.
It's funny, isn't it? Because the one thing I thought of is, do you know what? I think it's got a bit harder because there just happens to be some more people involved. Maybe it was a little easier for me because there wasn't as many, but I've got absolute faith in you.
Okay, yeah, no pressure. Well, it'll be interesting to see what everyone else has chosen as their decal option as well. And I think that's going to be the real key, is getting that right, to what skills I can bring to the kit and what research I can do in terms of weathering, because weathering obviously is going to be free for all. It's out of the box, but they're not going to put any restrictions onto it. So I'd like to do it as accurate as I possibly can, which is not like me, actually. So, all right, here we go.
Cool. Great choice, guys. Great choice.
Thank you, guys, for letting us join.
Let's get on to the main subject, shall we?
This here episode that you are currently listening to on your device is 3D printing. It's what we've decided that would be this week's topic. This was suggested to us, wasn't it?
It was indeed.
Yeah. I don't remember who by, but the person who it is suggested to us knows who it is. So
Yeah.
Here we are. Now around to your subject that you requested. So 3D printing, not something that I am an expert in. However, I can tell you all of my opinions. I'm quite happy to tell you what I think. What I think the future of 3D printing is, where 3D printing has in its in the hobby, and what I've used 3D printing for in the past, and will be using it for in the future. What about you? What's your experience with 3D printing?
I do have a 3D printer. I'm not an expert by any means, but the joys of Thingiverse and all the other sites of joy, they've given me an eye-opener. Because I bought it because it was an entry-level resin printer. I would say it was cheap for what it was. It wasn't the top range at the time I bought it.
When did you buy it?
Well, I've had it now, would you believe, I think 3 years or more.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my printer is an Anycubic Proton. It has its limitations, but depending on the files that you have, you can get some pretty good things out of it, I've got to be honest.
Okay.
So I bought it initially because I thought to myself, being someone that likes dioramas, it would be really cool to be able to print things to go in dioramas, stowage and all that sort of stuff, which there is an abundance of stuff that you can get hold of.
Yeah.
Some of it is well designed in CAD and some of it isn't. So you have to be a bit picky in some respects. There is the market, of course, to buy files, and, please, I ask you to do so, because obviously that helps fund the designers to do more. But there are sites in which you can pick up the same files for free, which people unfortunately do share, which is a bit naughty, and I try to avoid them as best I can. If I can support someone, I will.
You're always going to get that in any of these kind of hobbies, aren't you, where people can copy things, reprint things, like even like figures and things like that. People could do repops and remolds and things like that, can't they? So
it's unfortunate, but there's also, going along with the 3D printer is the 3D scanner, which is really thundering along now in its ability to create the 3D model, if you like. So there's going to be even more things that are copied and unlicensed and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, that's the negative side with what I've actually used it for. So figures, in many respects, what I've printed the most of.
Okay.
I think I've printed somewhere in the region of 15 or 20 different figures, ranging from gaming type figures, which I know nothing about who they are or anything like that.
Yeah.
To a Star Wars nativity scene.
I remember that, yeah.
I found this Mandalorian nativity scene and showed it to my friend. And my friend is a Star Wars freak. He just fell over himself and said, "Oh, buy the resin, please print it for me." So I did. And it came out really well.
Yeah.
I don't think he's painted it yet, unfortunately. But
oh, what? Come on.
Yeah, I know. He's had it quite a while too. But anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed doing that and it made complete sense to me. The other things in which I've done with it as well is I have done the diorama-y sort of stuff. So I 3D printed some science fiction junkyard sort of scenes for a diorama, which was brilliant. I have 3D printed the crates and the bits and pieces that you add into a diorama.
You have used it as you had intended.
I have, yeah, but nowhere as near as I had. I mean, I've got lots of files in which I have collections on Thingiverse, for example. So in one of my things files, I'll quickly run through it with you. So I've got the signal box levers for a rail signal box, because that's a project that's coming up soon. I have got wardrobes. I've got wicker chairs. I've got dining room chairs. I've got oil cans, window frames, doors. Oh, the abundance of stuff. They're the sort of things in which I was hoping to do with it.
Yeah.
And one of the things in which I did, obviously, was a supplies crate from World War II, which I actually printed and have used and painted and put in one of my dioramas.
Supplies.
They're the sort of things in which I initially was going down the road. This road for. However, Star Wars has featured quite heavily. So I have got a Boba Fett. I have got a couple of pod racing vehicles. I've got the ATST.
You were going to do me a pod race.
Yes, it's only now looking at it that I remember about that.
Yeah.
But yes, there's that, and I've got some of the Star Wars Legion scale droids. Oh, I've got loads of stuff, loads of stuff. Not all of them printed, of course, but they're there. And then, of course, the crazy world of figures and stuff. So I've 3D printed a Boba Fett sitting on his spacecraft, which was a comical sort of figure, which I've thoroughly enjoyed painting. That was really cool. But I've also got a Mark II TIE fighter. I have got lots of other characters that are unpronounceable for me. I've got the Mandalorian. I've got the Creel riding on the Blurg.
Yeah, Blarg. That's what I've got. I've got that printed for me by one of your friends, Carl, has actually printed that. That was. Ooh, you know what? That was like the beginning of lockdown, or even before.
Yeah, it's a while back.
Before lockdown, 2020, early 2020. That was. I remember. I think he had just got his printer. Was remarking to somebody else about this model that he was going to print. And I kind of said, "Oh, what about me?" kind of thing. I'd love to have done that too. And it turned up in a post, bless him. So yeah, got down and dirty and got that done really quickly. And thanked him for that. So talking about 3D printing stuff, yeah, the things that I have 3D printed are that particular Mandalorian diorama with Queel, and I also got somebody to do me a Yoda, a baby Yoda, Steph, and that came out lovely. Really, really pleased with that. That's one of the things as well. People who have 3D printers going to really enjoy printing things for other people, saying, "Look, I've got this thing. Come and tell me what you want, and I'll print it for you." Obviously, it's not free, but that's been quite fun. Other things that get 3D printed, we've got a 3D printer at Models for Heroes, and we use it to make the glue guardians that just hold on to extra thin and the MIG cement and things like that. And so, that's just a basic FDM printer. It's practical. You make something that doesn't exist. You make it with your computer, and it now exists.
I think that's the one thing in which surprised me a little bit with 3D printer. I mean, obviously the one I have is a resin printer. The other ones I don't really understand as much. The idea of a filament and all that sort of thing. I don't. It's not something I overly like. The resin printer gives you the opportunity to have a lot of detail. However, with that said, since I've had the one I've got, technology has moved forward. Not the latest one from Anycubic is massively reduced the printing time and the quality. And I know Ivan has got one of those, as well as I think 4 people from that podcast. I think they've all got one.
Wow.
And they just knock out phenomenal things. But yeah, this is the problem. This is the one thing I find, because effectively it's just like a computer. in that you buy the top singing, all dancing computer, and the moment you walk out of the shop, it's surpassed by the next one and the one after that.
Yeah.
But the resin printer that I've got does a pretty good job. And the latest thing that I printed, obviously, was the tank, the fuel tank or tank, the whatever it is, that goes into my Helldiver. Now that was amazing. The fact that I knew someone that could do the CAD work, because I couldn't. I haven't managed to fall down that trap yet.
Mm.
But the effort he put in, and in fairness, although it took him a little while, I could understand that once you get to know what you're doing, it's fairly simple in some respect.
Yeah.
And as challenging and rewarding as building a model itself, because that's what you're doing, but it's just on the computer screen and then you print it.
Yeah.
So having one, yeah, absolutely. I can see them being, like you said, that it's going to be similar to having a microwave in the kitchen. It's just a normal standard thing. The one thing that I will say, the thing that will hold a lot of people back, is the cost right now. The resin side of things, although you can get a resin that can be washed with water instead of alcohol and all that sort of stuff, things will progress, things will get better, but right now it is definitely a luxury item.
Yeah, I think you're right. Also, one of the things that puts me off is the danger of it, the toxicity of it. I know you said you can get water-based ones, but it's still, not nice. It's not nice stuff.
Oh, no, that's right.
And I'd rather, someone else to do that bit, to be honest. And plus, it's another thing I've got to learn, add to the things that I've got to do to work out. And I'd rather get someone else do that and know what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the same, but I'll be honest, I've done a little bit of work in more the software that comes with it. Yeah. So what I mean by that is that I have purchased a couple of builds and scaled them up as best I can, and the software works pretty well. To as long as you're concentrating on your X and Y's and Z's and all that, you can't really make that much of an error. So, for example, one of the other things which I printed was the space shuttle.
Right, I remember that. Yes.
So when I scaled that up, obviously, I tried my best to concentrate on the biggest parts, so it would be reasonably easy. I had a few failures here and there with the print, but it's printed quite well, and the quality is pretty good. I've got to be honest. It's not as good as maybe a plastic kit in some respects, but I think the more modern printers definitely would bring out that detail and etc. So and some of the figures as well. I've made a few figures that aren't, when you buy it, they should be sort of 9 centimeters high, no more than that. And I've gone stupid and gone massive, big as I can.
The detail gets lost, doesn't it?
It does a little bit, yeah.
What about painting them then? So I had the Mandalorian one painted up, so I had it on the shelf because I loved the show. And I think probably a lot of people, when the Mandalorian came out, a lot of people got involved in getting that printed out and painted. I've got that because it's cool, but I remember there was a little bit of cleanup to do because there's lots of layers and things like that on it. It wasn't too bad at all, but take off the rods and the struts and the braces and the noggins and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know if that's still the case, if you still have to do that kind of thing, or if you can buy them pre-cut open.
The noggins and stuff that you're talking about are the supports. Yeah. So when you do you do the prints, you've got all the supports. There are people out there that do 3D printing that can knock them off without any trial, and there's not very little cleanup. Haven't got to that stage yet, if I'm honest. And that is the only thing that I find a little frustrating, because the resin is quite brittle. So I'm told the best time to do it is when the resin hasn't set. And I find it quite difficult to handle a gooey figure that's still pliable in some respects and start taking bits and pieces off.
Yeah, that's a bit worrying.
I haven't played with that too much. I've generally let it set sufficiently enough to then play around with it at the end. But what I have found out is that fillers work and all that sort of thing. So it's a similar sort of principle, but you just have to take a little bit of time on it. And obviously, when you're sanding your resin, take the correct precautions because it is toxic.
Mm-hmm. Do it at arm's length, all the masks and everything. The thing I was interested in talking to you about was where you saw 3D printing in the hobby. So I don't know currently what the IPMS judging requirements are for 3D printing parts, whether you're allowed to add them to different things. Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. However, I was in a meeting on Monday with some creators, YouTube creators, and it came up in conversation. And I'm told that IPMS have got its own rules in relation to 3D printing. So own category, if you like. Now, I'm
Right.
assuming that's the whole build as a 3D printed item. I
Yeah.
think the extras that you might put in a diorama would not merit any worry if it was printed or whether it was photo etch or scratch build or what. I think it all comes into the same thing. But yeah, there is a move towards having its own status, for want of a better phrase.
Makes complete sense to me. You've still got the human element of trying to put the thing together, trying to present it, trying to paint it the right colors and all that kind of stuff. And someone's got to build it on a computer, whether they're building it with their hands or building it with a computer. It's still done by hand, by eye, by a human being.
It is, yeah. I think for me personally, the way I see 3D printing going, I think a little bit like COVID.
Okay.
This is a scary comment, okay, and I'm probably going to be proved wrong to a degree, but at the moment the world seems to be going through a bit of a phase where things cost an awful lot of money, etc., etc., etc. So I think 3D printers have come down in price. They're more available, they're more accessible, and the cost of running them is more accessible. From the community in which I see generally in the modeling community, there is the acceptance of 3D modeling, there is the acceptance of printing, and I think it's becoming more and more prevalent in the hobby. I wouldn't be surprised that during this economic squeeze that we're having right now around the world, that there may be the opportunity for some modeling companies to expand their range to include things in which you can 3D print at home.
Oh, okay. Well, like files and things.
Absolutely. Now, will that mean that the plastic modeling kit business dies a death? No, I don't think that's the case. I think that will carry on stronger and stronger as it is right now. I don't think that will change. But we do get into a situation with both the plastic and also resin. Believe it or not, a lot of work going on in the background as to finding a material that's similar or has different properties so it can either be recycled or not be as toxic as it is and maybe plant-based.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that makes complete sense to me. Yeah.
So, we're going to move along that road because obviously oil and all that is involved in making of plastics and resins and all that. So, yeah, that's going to have an effect. Now, newsflash. I think it's already out there, if I'm honest. I went on Monday to an event held by Airfix. And in that, we, of course, asked the question of where do they think 3D printing is going, whether it will take over the hobby, will it have a massive effect on their business, etc., etc. And as it stands right now, the people in power, the people that know, don't necessarily have the answer as to how they would move forward into that world. So that meaning that your new release Buccaneer or K2 ambulance is going to come in a box and it's going to be injection molded. However, I know for a fact that Airfix are looking into accessories.
Okay. Well, 3D printable ones.
Yeah, you may have the opportunity to download a file to get accessories to a model rather than them creating an accessories box pack kit. So that's something they're looking into, but also more surprising than that, Humbrol are having a little bit of reinvention of themselves as well.
Right.
And they have got coming to market a 3D printer.
Really?
Yep.
Are you allowed to say that?
I am allowed to say that, yeah. They are bringing to market a 3D printer, and the price range of this 3D printer will be within people's reach.
That is very interesting.
However, I pre-warn you, it's not a resin printer, but it's a cute little box. It looks quite interesting. And the reason they're going down that road is, I think, these are not their words, this is my understanding of what they said to me, is that they want to encourage the youth into the hobby. And they see 3D printing as a entry level into the hobby So going back when I was a kid, back in the 18, whatever it was, I remember computers, BBC computers, Acorn Electron computers, and all those wonderful computers. And I remember my reaction, which was whatever, not interested. And the youth right now are into CAD, they're into potentially 3D printing. And I think they are going to try and find an avenue into the market to be a part of that. They're ironing out some creases here and there, but it is going to be extremely accessible.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be one of those things that some children might go, I don't want an Xbox or a PlayStation, I want that. And then it can be used to do all sorts of magical things. And I think that is amazing, given that you sit down with Airfix and they say, well, you know, not really something we're looking at. We are sort of looking at it, but not really. And then the other arm of the business, Humbrol, well, no, we're embracing it. We're getting a 3D printer. We've got it. That's it.
Well, they've got big 3D printers down at Airfix.
Their 3D printing system is absolutely awesome, amazing, super expensive. For what they use it for, to doing prototypes, checking some of the designs out that they're doing before they go on to the next stage, etc. Absolutely essential, no question about it. But I think maybe one of the hang-ups with 3D printing is not the fact that model companies don't want to do it, it's understanding how they can prevent it from being pirated, make a business from it where they're earning money rather than seeing their product being duplicated and given away. If they can figure that, I can seriously see that coming a big part of the hobby.
Yeah, I think that once the larger companies start making 3D printers and they become accessible and they are in Argos and John Lewis and everything else, and you can buy them for Christmas, I think the market will accelerate.
Absolutely.
Like I said at the beginning, popular as microwaves, they'll have one in their hobby room or their red room or whatever, and they're printing stuff.
Well, breaking news, John Lewis do have a 3D printer in their store for you to buy. It's already there. The price bracket at the moment, generally speaking, in the high street stores, they're quite high. And if I had a choice between the printer in John Lewis, if I had a choice between their printer and an Anycubic printer, I'd go for an Anycubic printer all day long. Almost to the point saying to Humbrol, I think it's a great idea, but why filament? Why haven't you gone resin?
Cost, I expect.
I don't know. I think mainly it's because they're producing a product that's entry level, and they don't see resin as entry level.
I think you're right, and I think you can sell FDM filament without having to have government guidelines on resin sales and things like that. Probably.
This is definitely one of the reasons I think they've gone down that road, is because obviously Humbrol have come a bit of a cropper over the last few months in relation to legislation of ingredients to paints and once bitten, twice shy and all that. So I can understand it.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's great. I think it's
amazing.
Being the Christmas cracker, wasn't it? 3D printer.
It has really come to that point where, it will be something that literally underneath the tree, open it up. Oh, wow, look at this. Plug and play.
Yeah.
Crack on.
And print.
It really is plug and play. Even the resin, plug and play, really. One of the reasons I bought what I bought is plug and play. I'm no master. I don't have a degree of any sort, a degree of sarcasm, but that's about it.
Well, I know when I've done a bit of 3D printing at the unit, getting the bed level and getting everything else level and it's very picky. It's very picky about what you do and how you set up. If the door opens, right? If the door opens and a breeze comes through, it gets very upset.
It's a little bit like your very old granny, isn't it? Got to sit in the right chair, got to be at the right level.
Shut that door.
Got to have no drafts, got to have a full glass of sherry, blah, 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 very much so. But, I mean, that Humbrol, when I say entry level, I'm talking about a couple £100. That's what they're marketing it at. And I think that's a cracking price, a cracking idea. So well done, Humbrol.
Very cool. Good news. We briefly talked about the licensing, making it so people could be pirating stuff. Is there a way, do you think, that they could attribute a license format?
Yes, there is. I mean, some of the products you buy right now are licensed. It clearly gives you a warning, and it clearly says that if you break the license, you will be pursued. The problem with pursuing licenses is it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Unless you've got a lot of money and you're a big business, it's going to be very difficult to police. Yeah, I guess there is that. If it's on a certain site, it's down to the site to make sure it's got the right licenses, blah, 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 blah. But
Yeah.
I think we have had a lot of experience through many different outlets. That sort of policing is loose, to say the least. So until they find a way in which to really hammer it down, it's going to be very difficult. I mean, even to the point where you buy a product, you download it once, and it has self-destruct in it that you can only print it once or something like that. I suppose there's the ability, but the people that want to pirate that stuff will know the ability to override it. So I don't think, if I'm honest, I don't really see a way around it.
Well, maybe it's down to pricing then. I think the copying and pirating of films recently has dropped way down because the cost of Netflix and the cost of Disney Plus and everything's really low. You can watch a brand new film for a couple of quid now online.
Absolutely.
And you get it high quality, straight to TV. You don't have to do any downloading or anything at all.
Well, the thing with pirating of films and that sort of thing was that, it came out on a video and or a disc or whatever. If you, like you say, if you make it as accessible as possible at a price that people feel is accessible, then for £2, why would you want to keep a copy of it?
Yeah, it makes sense just to pay the extra cash rather than risk a jail or fine as well.
Because it's streaming now, you can sit there with your camcorder and video, but then how many people in the world have got videos and things like that now? You look at my home, for example, I have got a video player, I have got a CD player, I have got a music stand with music stand. God, how old do I sound? A music box where I can put my CDs in, but I haven't bought a CD in 20 years. No, I lie. That's a lie. Actually, I might have bought a couple, but they were because they went in my car. But now everything, music-wise, everything I do is streamed. I don't bother because I can just press a button and it's accessible and it's there.
Well, that's what they need to do, then, isn't it?
That is what they need to do. They need to find a way to make it so accessible that it just isn't worth the effort of pirating.
It could be that your 3D printer is connected directly to the internet, and you purchase your thing that you want to build or make, and it downloads it straightly into it, directly in. And so they probably control the types of files and things like that are used then.
There are ways around it in some respect, but there will always be someone trying to find a way around that anyway. So
yes.
I think the time will come where, certainly like Airfix have alluded to, where certain add-ons and bits and pieces you can 3D, like for example different loads on an aircraft. You might get a particular load in your kit, and if you want extra load, you go online and just print it off.
How do you mean load? What do you mean?
Well, your weapons load.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it'll come with a basic weapon load, and then if you want all singing, all dancing, or a completely different type of weapon, which is happening right now. Remember, I've worked on this aircraft, and that's not right. So I want this particular load, or this is what I remember when I was in service, etc., etc. They're already doing that, and there's loads of aftermarket companies out there producing that sort of stuff, and that is Airfix's stance on it: is that we provide the basics of the kit. We provide the basics of the load to go with the kit, whatever that may be. And if you want more, aftermarket is the place to go, because that keeps that side of the business working well. With the cost coming down and the technology making leaps and bounds seemingly every month, where might we be in another 10 years' time?
There will always be the need for more tools and different ways of creating things for your hobby. 3D printers are another tool in your arsenal to create your amazing projects.
Next time in Just Making Conversation, we'll be talking about other subjects relating to this daft hobby of ours. You've been listening to Just Making Conversation with
James Skiffins
and the confused Malcolm Childs.
Follow us on Facebook, where we post photos, updates, and other nonsense. Do we? Very rarely put anything on Facebook, really.
If the social media person's up to speed, and not on another drunken blinking outing.
All right, I'll change it slightly. Follow us on Facebook, where we sometimes post photos, updates, and other nonsense.
Find us on Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and all the others.
Let us know what you are just making and what your thoughts are on the conversation in this here episode.
Thank you to the following supporters from buymeacoffee.com/JMC podcast.
Brad, Warren, Tim, Black Rifle, John, Julian, Chat Mark, Bekawahi, Simon the Jizz Gent, Steve, Lee, Costas, Mark, Rain, Neil, Mike, Robert, Andrew, John, Drew, Mike, Jeff, Richard, Lynn, Gordon, and 6 others.
If you do show your support, leave your name and we can muller it on live on air.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Fuck it. That'll do.